Welcome to the Ref Show. All the big talking points in both the FA Cup, the Football League, the Championship takes our eye in one or two cases, but nothing really surpasses the achievement over the weekend of Lincoln City becoming the first non-league club in 103 years to reach the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, even though I no longer I don't really think of them as a non-league club, Chris Sutton. Do you? I'm still struggling with that.
Just that's fantastic what the Cowley brothers have done there. You know, they look like they're going to get promotion, but it's an unbelievable achievement, but deserved as well. You know, that wasn't a fluke them beating Burnley. Really well organised.
It was strange to see a Premier League club bossed on its own patch to the extent that Lincoln City did, Dean Mohareb.
Yeah.
You're not here to really talk about that aspect. You're really to talk about, despite the headlines needing to be on Lincoln City, one particular player kind of stole the show in a way that we don't want. Joey Barton was involved in all sorts of shenanigans there, wasn't he? Stamped on Matt Reed. There was a big battle going on between them. Then appeared to completely shamelessly feign injury, trying to get a guy sent off. Was cautioned eventually. What did you make of all of that, Chris?
Well, I think you explained that pretty well. I mean, he should have been sent off, shouldn't he? Certainly, there were two incidents. He was cautioned, and I thought the referee got it wrong. This may go to the FA, and he may get a retrospective ban. That was for the scratch, I think, on the face. He had to go for that. Should have gone for the stamp. Should have been sent off maybe 2 or 3 times, and wasn't. No. Thankfully, it didn't have a bearing on the game.
Dean Mohareb?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, only 2 or 3 times for Joey Barton in one game's not bad. But yeah, I mean, I think the referee obviously hasn't seen the scratch. I think he's cautioned him for the pushing and shoving in the melee. But Chris is right. When the FA look at that, I think there'll be a ban coming.
Yeah, David Coote was the referee there, and it became quite a challenging game from. Sorry, it wasn't David Coote at all. I've got that totally wrong. It was actually Graham Scott, a very experienced referee, who certainly had his hands full with that game, didn't he?
He did, and here's another referee who's not had many games this season on the Premier League, and I think it showed on at weekend, if I'm honest. I like Graham, but he was very inconsistent in terms of his recognition of fouls and what to let go and what not to let go. And actually, as Chris said, you know, normally when you get a non-league team against a Premier League team, it's quite a physical game. This wasn't. Lincoln played some fantastic football, and I thought at times the referee was a bit inconsistent. And again, that's something that the team will have to work with him on.
Yeah. I don't think he was helped by his assistants. You think about. I mean, Joey was slippery with the scratch and the stamp as well. I mean, we blame the referee, but surely, the assistant's got eyes as well.
You need a few pairs of eyes to see what was going on in that, don't you, really?
Well, that's a fair point, because this is a common theme, isn't it, Alan, that comes up around the assistants on the Premier League actually not getting involved when they should do. And Chris is right, they certainly could have helped him there on two incidents. One
person I kind of felt for, partly because I know him and he used to be a hero of mine when he played for Chesterfield, who reached the FA Cup semi-finals in 1997, Sean Dyche, the Burnley manager. I don't associate him at all, either as a player or a manager, with the behaviour of Joey Barton, the way he tried to get the guy sent off at the weekend. Surely he must have been very embarrassed by that, you'd have thought. You'd hope.
Yeah, look, I mean, I have to say, I think Joey Barton's a top footballer. We know that his checkered history, if you like. Sean Dyche will be embarrassed about Joey's behaviour, and I think so will Joey deep down. I know he sent out a tweet after the game claiming he didn't go down easily, but the pictures tell the story, don't they?
They certainly do. The other story from this, although actually the officials did and would have spotted that the winning goal from Lincoln was over the line. It was well over. It was actually confirmed by goal line technology. Not that Lincoln relied on that, because it was a goal. Although the corner, actually, that they came from shouldn't have been awarded, should it? I don't know whether you clocked that. They got away with one there. The point I was going to raise was that goal line technology wasn't in operation in 5 of the other ties over the weekend. It couldn't have been used at Millwall, Huddersfield, Wolves, Fulham, or Blackburn, all non-Premier League venues. So is that kind of fair?
Well, I mean, it's a question for you about the integrity of the competition, isn't it, in terms of having a level playing field. But for me, from a practical point of view, if goal line technology is there, it'd be a nonsense not to use it. And then if there was a big decision, and it went wrong, then it would open a can of worms. So I think if you've got the technology, then it should be used.
Right, fine. The reason I said David Coote was because I've got Burnley and Barnsley next to each other alphabetically, and David Coote was the referee at Barnsley against Brighton, 2-0. You've had a look at something in this game. Early on, I think it was, 0-0, because Brighton won 2-0. Lewis Dunk handball. You've had a look at it actually on replay. What do you make of that penalty?
I mean, first of all, congratulations to David Coote, along with Chris Kavanagh and Andy Madley, who appear to have been promoted to Select Group 1. I'll probably talk about that a bit more later on, but there's an incident in the game where there's a handball appeal, 2 players running towards the goal line, and certainly the defender's arm is in an unnatural position. It comes up and the ball makes contact with him. I think it's deliberate handball because he's moved his arm. You could argue there's a nudge in his back on the way through, but I think a penalty should have been given.
Okay, again, one of those very, very hard ones. Some of these handball shouts are really difficult for referees, Chris, aren't they? It's a spot at the time.
Yes, they are. But if the arm is in an unnatural position, then more often than not, I think the referee should give them.
Right. Another game in the Championship just to look at, and we're going to kind of go to and fro the Championship and the FA Cup here. Andy Madley, one of the referees that we believe has been promoted to Select Group 1, has been plugged for that by more than a few experts here who all rate him highly. This was Nottingham Forest 1, Sheffield Wednesday 2. At 0-0, a penalty given to Forest correctly. Kieran Westwood brings down Ben Brereton. It's only a yellow card for the keeper. Forest fans up in arms. I don't know. I looked at that and wondered whether that should have been a red. Even though the law has changed for offences inside the box, if it's a genuine attempt for the ball, it's a yellow. What did you make of that?
The law is impossible to interpret. It really is, because how can a referee judge a player's intent? And that's why the word intent was taken out of law a long time ago. I admire the principle and the idea of this new law, in that you're not trying to provide this triple jeopardy, but it needs a look at, because in this situation here with Westwood, at fast speed, one look at it, he looks as though he's gone for the ball, the player's gone past him and he's caught him, and that's why Andy Madley's cautioned him. You can then analyse it and say, well, his eyes are not on the ball, he's turned his body away. There's no way the referee will pick that up at full speed. So I would give the referee the benefit of the doubt there that he got a caution right. But it's something IFAB need to look at in terms of this dog set.
Because you can argue it either way.
You can argue it, and there are decisions in football. You can argue either way. That's what makes it fantastic. And that's why a video referee will never work, because people will have different interpretations. But I just think this law, in particular this wording around if a player attempts to play the ball, it's so grey in terms of what a referee has to look for.
Unfair on referees to have to make that judgment when they've got so many other pressing judgments to make.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way the referee interprets it in that split second. So that's a tough call, isn't it, in that situation?
You were at Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough, thrilling game. 3-2 they won in the end against Oxford United. I think it was 2-0, wasn't it, to Borough. Oxford came back. Yes. But there was an incident much earlier in the game where Oxford had a goal disallowed.
Yes, and for me it shouldn't have been disallowed. It was Middlesbrough 1-0 up, and I think it was Maguire had cut in from the right-hand side about 30 yards out, and he'd bent the ball in with his left foot. It goes directly into the goal. Brad Guzan can see it all the way, and I think just out the shot was Bernardo, was clipped by, I think it was Kane Hemmings, was just clipped, but it wasn't impeding Brad Guzan's view, and the referee gave a foul, and it was ridiculous. I think it was an accidental clip anyway, but the fact, if it had been impeding Guzan's view, I could understand the decision, but the fact he saw it all the way should have been a goal for me. And then Middlesbrough goes down the other end, I think a minute, 2 minutes later, and get the second.
So that's a key incident,
I mean, the player's not offside, as Chris said, so the impeding bit is irrelevant for the referee. He's got to look at whether it's a foul, and I agree with Chris. It was a coming together, and for me, it wasn't a foul challenge, and I thought that Oxford were very unlucky there.
Okay, Andre Mariner was the referee in the centre there, who has got the League Cup final, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's had a good season. He's had a very good season. He's one of the half a dozen referees you can give any game to in the Premier League, and he's a solid performer.
That raises a big point for part two, because we're going to talk about Mark Clattenburg, of course, our top referee, the world's top referee, arguably, quitting the Premier League, and what a blow that is to the Premier League. For Saudi Arabia, He's not the first either in recent years at the top of his game, at the top of his form, to actually leave. And this raises a big concern, you'd have thought, Chris, for Professional Game Match Officials Limited.
Yes, it does. And, you know, we keep hearing it's the best league in the world, the biggest and best league. Well, have the best referees. It's not a good sign when, you know, we have a top referees. Howard Webb's gone. Now Clattenburg has, you know, got to sort it out.
There appears to be emerging a transfer market for referees. Join us to talk about all of that in part 2.